Welcome back to Miller's in Motion. As you have been watching, we've been on a fun, solo, cheapest cruise series that we could possibly come up with. Well, and before we get off the ship, I wanted to make sure that we showed you around the Norwegian Jade, because I think it's important to understand at a certain price what you're actually getting into. So the Norwegian Jade is on the older side of the ships. It is a much smaller ship with only about a 2,400 passenger capacity if every room was double filled. It's going to have a variety of staterooms, including your high-end suites penthouse. It does have a haven, which is the kind of private ship in a ship concept from Norwegian. It's also going to have, kind of going down in order, your more traditional balconies and aft shaping balconies, your ocean view staterooms, and then your interior staterooms with no window or no porthole to the exterior. Now, to get us started, we are actually going to start right here on deck 14, where there's nothing going on, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. Deck 14 has the haven on it. It has one other restaurant that is for the haven specifically, and this area, which is just a sun deck, and it is early in the morning, and so at the moment, and it's a little windy, so they have all of the chairs stacked up. So just know that I'm doing this very early in the morning when there's not a bunch of people around, so that I can better showcase the ship. So also, we are all the way forward in the ship, so let's head down to deck 13 and go from there. All right, so down on deck 13, typically during the day, all of these chairs would be out. Again, they're kind of put away, but this is where you're going to find your sports courts when you're on the track, your jogging track, all of that kind of stuff. It does overlook the pool areas, which at this point we'll go ahead and do a quick tour of this because it is getting pretty windy up here. So starting from the closer to the back of the ship going forward, topsiders is a half bar and kind of half outdoor grill. They're going to serve like burgers, you know, chicken tenders, that kind of stuff, the pizza, that kind of stuff out there just for like poolside snacks. And then coming forward, there are technically two pools here. So this is the more kid-friendly, but they're not necessarily kid-friendly because they're actually 5.5 feet deep. You have two hot tubs flanking each side of it. And you have an area where they put chairs out in the middle, a little bit of a stage area set up, and then that's technically the adults pool on the far side. It is a direct copy of this one, just in reverse. So the hot tubs are on the other side, kind of spread everybody out kind of a thing. So, all right, let's continue to move on down deck 13. Continuing walking aft inside some of these rooms. A lot of things are closed right now, so I can't necessarily go in them, but you're going to have Moderno, which is a Brazilian style steakhouse, and the Sugarcane Mojito Bar forward. Both of those areas are unfortunately closed at the moment, but that's what's in there. Moderno is an upcharge restaurant, and Sugarcane Mojito Bar is not. It's just a bar. Honestly, I haven't seen much going on there since we've been on the ship. They do have two of these like caged areas you can see. There's one on the other side of the ship. This is actually a golf like hitting thing. It's all it really is. It's not necessarily like sometimes they have simulators. This is not a simulator. It's really just a mat into a net, and that's all it is. So if you really are a diehard golfer and you want to do that, just know you can. All right, as we make our way all the way to the aft or rear of the ship, we have the sports courts area. So pretty self-explanatory. It's a sports court. There's basketball. They can set it up for pickleball, volleyball, small goal soccer, all of that kind of stuff. This is also, you can see the arrows on the ground going the wrong direction compared to me. This is also where you're going to find the jogging track, that kind of stuff. So this is as high as you can get, as back as you can get on the ship right here. So I'm actually kind of starting to experience a little bit of weather down here. So in just a second, after I get through a few things, I'll tell you the kind of cruise we're on in case you haven't been following around on the actual video. At the back of the boat, you can see down below tables, chairs at the bottom of the stairway. So this is the very, very back of the ship. It is an outdoor seating area. There is like an outdoor version of the buffet. They call it the Great Outdoors Grill, but it is just an extension of the Garden Grill, which is their typical food buffet service program, which is included in your cruise fare. Now with that being said, you know, this is one of those where quick bite, coffee in the morning, lunch, just something you want to kind of get quick and kind of go. This is where this and Garden Grill is where you're going to really want to do that. As we make our way back up the other side of the ship, still on deck 13, you can see those light strips up there. So there's actually like stadium style seating for the sports court. So if there's something going on that, you know, they wanted to have people watch, or you wanted to watch, then there's actually seating for you up there. Okay, sorry, the wind kind of won back there for a second, but there's another sunbathing area. And we're just kind of making our way back down the other side of the ship now, heading back forward before we start to head down a deck. Also, kind of along the way, you're going to have like giant chests, giant checkers, all that kind of stuff. Okay, we've kind of started to make our way back towards the pool area. And now that we're on the opposite side, I wanted to kind of show you real quick. That far side is where I was shooting from earlier. So that's topsiders. That was one of the few smoking areas in the ship, as well as in their outdoor bar. So it services the haven and the pool. Okay, let's move on. Okay, directly under the pit stop, going forward, there is a little bit of an area down here, but this is where you're going to find the studio. If you wanted to do a card room, all this kind of like special private stuff, you can come down here and it's a little more quiet. Also, directly in front of me, which is closed right now, is actually the Mandra Spa and Salon. So that's where you're going to come for all of that. In addition, we're back into a stairwell, just the forward one. This is also where the fitness center is. It is not quite open yet, but that is all up here. And this accumulates the rest of everything on this deck forward. Now, let's start making our way towards the back of deck 12. Okay, we are now by the pools. Again, we're just down on that deck itself. So you're going to get a view of topsiders, which I talked about briefly up above. But we're going to go just to the left of it. Okay, so this is Garden Cafe. This is going to be the buffet breakfast, lunch, and dinner option. It is just opening, but not quite open yet. So it should be open in the next 15 minutes. So fortunately, I can't stick my head there. But on the other side of the ship, you're going to see that sign Entourage and Splash Academy. Those are their two kids. That Splash Academy is the kids club. Entourage is the teen club. Okay, quickly looking at the map. We're on deck 12 and we've already hit everything. Most of it's forward. There's really nothing backwards. The next three decks, 11, 9, 10, and 11, are all staterooms. So we're going to head down to deck 8. Okay, just moving a little bit forward on deck 8, you're going to find O'Sheehan's, which is another food option. This is a 24 hours a day option. It's going to have more of like sports bar kind of feel. They have a bar at the end. You can do breakfast here as well. Okay, we kind of are midship now in deck 7, so I went down one. This is the main atrium lobby. It's right below Ocean. So this is where you're going to have your guest services, shore excursions desk, restaurant reservations, all of that stuff. There's also a coffee bar right there that has a few pastries and things. Those are our upcharge. Getting on or off the ship at a main port, where you'll be able to. Now, before we move forward, we're actually going to go aft. So as we turn to go aft, you're going to see the sign that says Jasmine. So Jasmine is actually, it is technically a specialty dining Asian restaurant. Now, with that being said, at the moment, it is not included in upcharge because it was new on a retrofit they just did. So beginning what I believe is January 1st, 2025, they are actually going to be doing this as a specialty dining. Attached to that, you also have the sushi bar and the sake bar as well. As I talked about that, I didn't want to pass it completely. This is the entrance to teppanyaki. This is the Japanese style hibachi restaurant. So they do have that on the ship. I was hoping to get to this ship. I'm not 100% sure I'll be able to, but that is where that is at. Okay, making your way further aft. This is the Bliss Lounge. So this is where they have different types of activities, mainly in the afternoon through the evenings, like trivia, those types of things. They have a little bit of live music down here, and this is where they do like karaoke. Completing the trek aft, you have the Stardust Theater. This is their main theater on board the ship. As we got down to Stardust, I figured I should pop my head out, because one of the things about these smaller ships is they have this area, which is kind of like a Lido deck, but this is where it actually goes completely around the ship. There is shuffleboard, some other things out here, and you could actually make a complete circumference of the entire ship. We are actually currently on our way to Great Stirrup Cay, which is their private island in the Bahamas. We are hoping that we can get off the ship. With the weather and the waves and the wind, which seems to be a little calmer today, they've already kind of warned us that it might not happen, so that's kind of a we'll see thing. All right, we've come back inside. So the Lido deck's out there to our left, and then we have Stardust Theater to our back. We're going to go more forward kind of quickly here and hit a few of the things on this deck before we head down one more. As we continue to move further down the ship to the rear, this is where the photo gallery is. So if you're going to come in and buy some pictures you took, they have camera gear. Ironically, they have our big camera. But they have GoPros, they have kind of all these other things in case you needed something, forgot something. And like I said, you could buy those photos that you've had taken of pictures you've had taken on the ship. Right in front of us is Trade Winds. This is your duty and tax-free shop, so it's going to have liquors, watches, all that kind of stuff that sometimes they have on these. And it's closed because, well, it's early, and we're going to be in dock all day, which means it's closed. So it's only going to be open like at sea and some of those special times. Now, as we move to the other side of the ship, so right here in between the two sides, this is the Grand Pacific dining room. This is actually a two-story dining room. This is the main dining room, and what it is it rotates the menu at night. There's a handful of specials that change. This is where we've kind of been eating for the most part. And I know I just said we, but I made a couple of friends that are also solo travelers, and so we've been eating dinner after like a solo meetup occasionally. And then we move to the other side of the ship. And mirroring the photo gallery on the other side is the art gallery on this side. And as in the case with most of the art galleries, it is run by Park West. And now we've made pretty much just a complete loop, and we're coming back into the lobby area. Okay, so I'm going to try to do this the best I can. So we are going to go down to deck 6 very briefly. I'm not even going to go all the way down if I can help it. And I don't. Haha. So down there, just around the corner in that section there, is Alizar's. That is a smaller venue. Oh, maybe actually. Okay, I can get where I was trying to go. All right, so we are coming down to deck 6. Deck 6 is kind of the last of the main public area. So this is Alizar. This is another of the main dining facilities on board. So you can choose between a handful. This is just one of those options. It's going to have the same menu as the Grand Pacific every night. It's just a slightly smaller, more intimate bar. But as we head forward, this is kind of a little cooler collection of bars area down here. So I affectionately call it the whiskey bar. So this is the one I've been coming to a little bit more. I kind of prefer the vibe of it. And then that rolls right into the martini and cocktail bar, which, I mean, at the end of the day, you can get the same drinks at all of these, but just kind of an option, but has a little bit more seating area, way more of like a lounge style. And then, last but not least, on the very end down here where the lights kind of turn pink is the champagne and wine bar. Now we are downstairs, so if you look up, that is where Jasmine is, and that's where Jasmine is, the sushi bar. We were just up there a second ago, and now we're down below. Also down here through the doors right there is La Bistro. That's their French-inspired specialty restaurant. And then they also have a cigar room. So if you're into cigars, you can go. And then they have kind of, light music and those types of things over there. Continuing our look forward, and I can't film in here, so we're just going to kind of stop at this point, is one of the areas, the entrances into what they call Jade Casino. So this cruise ship does have a casino on board. It is heavily smoky. It is kind of an old school casino. If you continued through it, you would end up by the Stardust again. So there's the casino. Okay, before we move on to our last category, I just want to show you. So we're down on deck 6 now. Deck 5 is all staterooms again. And then deck 4 is staterooms. It's also the exit when you're at a port where you have to go lower, or tenders, and the medical station. So we're not going to go down and look at that. For now, we're going to head up and talk a little bit about staterooms now. Okay, we are back up on deck 9. And we are heading down the aft side hallway. We're actually going to my stateroom. So it's a series of balcony staterooms on our left and interior on our right. There's always going to be a mix of crew areas on the right as well, because they need somewhere to work and do their thing that service all of these. Now, a few things about Norwegian Jade. Like I said, it's an older ship. It has a little bit of a unique style. They're trying to phase it out as best they can. But as you walk down, you see all of these like jewelry, shell style things, and you can tell that the doors are more of a shutter style. So Norwegian Jade was initially brought on to be the Hawaiian ship for Norwegian, which means it was going to stay in Hawaii and bounce around and then come back to the state, So it was going to stay down in Hawaii and only do those types of cruises, and then go back and forth between like LA or Seattle. But it was meant to be the Hawaiian ship. So that's why some of those things, like the doors, are a little harder to replace. So that's why they still have that kind of shutter look, because that's what they were going for aesthetically. Now, I did a brief room tour in our embarkation day video, but I wanted to take you through the room again in this video just in case you didn't see it. Okay, so with this, I need to do a quick disclaimer that I have been living in this room now for about 5 days. Today is our last day, and we are getting ready to get off the ship tomorrow. So with that, it's not as nice as it was when I first got in, but we are in cabin 9164. It is a balcony cabin. And when you first walk in, you're hit with a closet that you have hanging storage. You have a bunch of shelves for things. You have your safe. You have a mini fridge that I have not used. Again, more drawers for things, and then just another area. There's a couple of cups there. So this is considered the desk. Yes, I know I've got t-shirts sitting on it. That's the shirt I'm going to wear here in a little bit to go get a workout in. But that's considered the desk. It literally just where I set my computer to charge, and that's my glass of water from last night. King size bed, very typical cruise bed. It's the two smaller beds kind of combined. A little bit of a Davenport. I don't know how else to describe it. It can fold out into another bed if needed. Yes, I know you can see my camera bag over there. I've been trying to run and gun film a lot of videos on this cruise. And then just another little area. I don't really know what I would call that. But it's where I put everything to charge. Phone up there on the wall. And yep, that's an old school phone. It's on the wall with a cord. And then a small TV up in the corner. And then the big reason why you have a balcony, the balcony. And this is actually turning into a fairly pretty day. But the balcony is a good size. So that's two full-size chairs that you see there with a little end table. And there's quite a bit of room. There's actually a light up there as well. I just don't have it on at the moment. The only other thing that's left is the bathroom. And that's pretty cut and dry. So you have the commode over there in its own little room. And that white piece right there is part of a door. It does slide. You have the mirror. Hello. Sink vanity area. And then you have a bunch of shelves along the right-hand side. And then you have your shower. With a couple of, they provide soap and that kind of stuff. I like my own, so I bring my own. And you see those up there. Now, I don't recall what the bathroom situation was on our original Norwegian ship. We did the Bliss back in 2018, but it's interesting because I want to compare that. So in March, we're actually doing a Bliss cruise with friends of ours out of Los Angeles. It's a Mexican Riviera. So I'm going to be interested to see how the ship has handled time, because we were on one of the inaugural sailings out in 2018, like I said, up to Alaska, and obviously it's going to be 2025 by the time we get on that cruise. So, all right, let's talk about my thoughts just a little bit now on how expensive this cruise was and a little bit on the solo topic, just so that it's kind of out there in the world. I will go into a slightly more personal detail on our debarkation day video, which will be next up. So if you look for my actual take, make sure and check that video out. As far as a solo traveler on Norwegian, from a price perspective. So if you're booking a cabin and you're online, typically it defaults at 2 people. They're assuming that you're going to take 2 people in each cabin. So if you are not 2 people and you're 1 person, you're going to pay what's called a solo supplement. Now, some cruise lines have a very big one, looking at you, Disney, and some cruise lines have a very small or non-existent one, like Norwegian. They have one, but they also have a program on a lot of their newer ships called the Solo Lounge and the Solo Studios. They're much smaller. They're interior cabins, but they're designed to maximize space for them so that they don't lose money on stuff, but at the same time to cater to solo travelers. With that being said, there is no solo lounge on this ship, but in lieu of that, what they do is they have a solo meetup every day at 5:30. We all get together for about 30 minutes or so, just kind of chat, maybe play a game or something, and then typically a lot of us will go to dinner together, but you kind of get to know everybody and you find your smaller group inside the bigger group, and then you're able to meet some people and not just be by yourself the whole time on the ship, which has been great. Now, pricing. So at the time I booked this, and I will say this is an off-season cruise, we went December 2nd through the 7th. I booked this reasonably last minute. So I booked this about 2 weeks out. I booked an interior stateroom, and my pre-tax total and the thing that was displayed was $428. That included the solo supplement. So when you're searching for cruises, if you are a solo traveler, make sure that you change your search criteria to 1, because otherwise it's going to default to 2. And the price is going to look lower, but then when you get to the end of checkout, you're going to be two people at that price. Whereas if you change it to 1, now you're looking at it with the solo supplement into it. And I think at the end of the day, I only paid an extra about $50 from that second person into the solo supplement versus having to pay that, $428 twice. Now I'm at $860 something dollars. So just a little tip as you go. Now, with that also being said, is now a lot of this worth the price? Well, I would say yes in some regards, no in others. That's where you have to come back next week and check out the disembarkation video, because I'm going to go over all of that as I wrap up my time on the ship and try to make my way back to Texas, back to Lauren, back to the RV, and then we are going to try and get out and take some more trips with that before we have something else coming up. So thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. If you like this video, please consider hitting that little subscribe button down there. It would appreciate us. It helps you out. It helps out the analytics, if you may, for YouTube. And we hope to catch you next week for disembarkation video. See you guys later. Bye, Mom.